Have you ever found yourself giving and giving, only to realize that some people simply take and never give back? It's a painful truth many of us face as we grow older. With age often comes a deeper sense of generosity. We give our time, our advice, sometimes even our hard-earned money, thinking we're helping. After all, isn't that what good people do? But here's what few talk about. Not everyone deserves your kindness. There are people, sometimes even those closest to us, who quietly drain our energy, our peace of mind, and even our savings. And the worst part? They're often so skilled at disguising their true intentions that you don't realize what's happening until you're left feeling used and empty. I've seen this happen more times than I can count. Good-hearted people, worn down by relationships that take far more than they give. So today I want to share something that might just protect your heart and your future. In this video, we'll talk about 4 types of people you should never help in your later years. These are the ones who will use guilt, pity, or manipulation to get what they want. If you don't spot them early, they can rob you of your emotional strength and even your financial security. But once you understand the signs, you'll know exactly how to protect yourself and direct your kindness toward those who truly deserve it. And here's the good news. Learning to set boundaries doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise. So please stay with me until the end, because by the time we're done, you'll see certain people in your life through a very different lens, and you'll understand why saying no sometimes is the kindest thing you can do for yourself. Ready? Let's begin. Let's start with the first type of person you should protect yourself from: the chronic taker. You've probably met someone like this before. They always seem to be in need of a favor, a loan, your time, your ear. And naturally you help, because that's what kind people do. You tell yourself, it's just this once, or they're going through a rough patch. But here's what's really happening. These people have learned that you're the one who will always say yes. At first they're grateful. They promise to repay you someday, but that day never seems to come. Instead, the requests keep coming, each one wrapped in a story that tugs at your heart. A lost job, a broken car, an unexpected bill. They always have a reason, but slowly you start noticing the pattern. They call only when they need something. They disappear when life is good, and when you need a hand, suddenly they're too busy, too tired, or simply unavailable. The harsh truth is, chronic takers don't actually want to stand on their own. Why should they when someone like you keeps rescuing them? Take Joe, for example, a 72-year-old retired carpenter. For years, he tried to help his younger cousin, who always seemed to be in financial trouble. There was always a new story: a job lost, a car accident, medical bills. Joe gave what he could, believing he was doing the right thing. But years passed, and nothing changed. His cousin never learned to stand on his own feet. Instead, he grew comfortable relying on Joe's kindness, never once repaying a dime or offering help in return. It took Joe a long time to see the truth. His generosity wasn't helping, it was enabling. And that's the painful cycle of chronic takers. The more you give, the less they learn. Your kindness becomes their safety net, and eventually their expectation. They stop trying because they know someone else will always clean up the mess. Here's what I want you to remember. Helping someone who refuses to help themselves doesn't make you kind. It makes you vulnerable. And chronic takers know how to spot that vulnerability from a mile away. If someone in your life only shows up when they need something, it's time to stop. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to argue or justify your decision. A simple, calm, "I'm not in a position to help right now," is enough. And that boundary? It's a powerful act of self-respect. Because at this stage in life, your energy, your peace, and your resources should be directed toward people who truly value you, not those who see your kindness as a bottomless well. If any face or name comes to mind right now, trust that instinct. You've already given enough. It's time to protect your heart and your future. Now let's talk about another group that's even harder to spot: the emotional manipulators. They rarely ask for help outright. Instead, they create situations where you feel like you have no choice but to step in. And the worst part? They know exactly what strings to pull. Maybe it starts with a long sigh, or they mention, almost in passing, how nothing ever works out for them. They won't say the words, "Can you help me?" Instead, they'll leave the door open, waiting for you to offer, because that way, it feels like your idea. It's subtle, but powerful. You walk away from the conversation feeling heavy, guilty even, like it would be heartless not to step in. The psychology behind this is simple. Emotional manipulators thrive on guilt. It's how they get what they want without ever asking directly. Because if they never really asked, then technically you chose to help, right? Take Helen, a 68-year-old retired nurse who shared her story with me once. For years, her friend Martha played this game to perfection. Whenever something went wrong, a broken appliance, an argument with family, a financial pinch, Martha would call Helen, not to vent, not for advice, but to sigh, to sound defeated, to drop hints like breadcrumbs, until Helen felt she had no choice but to offer help. And every time, Helen stepped up. That's what good friends do, isn't it? But over the years, Helen started noticing something unsettling. Whenever she needed support, Martha was nowhere to be found. Too busy, too tired, too distracted. That's when it hit her. This wasn't friendship, it was manipulation. Because here's the thing, true friends don't disappear when the roles are reversed. Genuine relationships are built on give and take, not guilt trips. Emotional manipulators only show up when there's something in it for them. And if you ever try to set a boundary, to say no just once, they know exactly how to punish you. Cold silence, sudden distance, sharp words designed to make you feel like you're the bad guy. But you're not. In fact, one of the most powerful things you can do in this situation is to recognize the pattern and step back. You are not responsible for carrying anyone else's emotional baggage, and you are not obligated to rescue someone who refuses to stand on their own 2 feet. Here's what I always tell my patients. It is not unkind to protect your peace, because the people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They'll understand that you too have limits, and those who don't, well, they were never really in your corner to begin with. So if someone's name or face popped into your mind just now, trust that instinct. It might be time to stop letting guilt decide how you live your life. You've given enough. Now it's your turn to receive respect, not manipulation. Now here's something most people overlook: financial boundaries, especially when it comes to family. It's natural to want to help, especially if you see a loved one struggling. As we get older, many of us feel a deep sense of responsibility, like it's our job to make sure everyone else is okay. But there's a fine line between helping and hurting ourselves, and no one crosses that line faster than the reckless spender. This is the person who's always broke, but never changes. Their money troubles aren't just bad luck. They're the result of years of poor choices, overspending, gambling, or chasing quick fixes. And every time they find themselves in trouble, guess who they call? The one person they know has a generous heart: you. Maybe they say, "It's just this once, I promise." Maybe they make it sound like a true emergency, and at first it feels right to step in. After all, what's family for? But here's the hard truth. Helping someone once is kindness. Helping them again and again, while nothing changes, that's enabling. I'll never forget Ron's story, a 74-year-old retired mechanic. His grandson, a good kid at heart, just couldn't hold down a job. Every few months, it was the same story. Bills piling up, rent overdue, car repairs needed. Ron, being the caring grandfather he was, opened his wallet, time after time, because he believed that one day his grandson would get it together. But months turned into years, and instead of getting back on his feet, his grandson grew more and more dependent, because he knew help was just a phone call away. That's the danger here. The problem isn't really a lack of money, it's a lack of discipline. And when someone doesn't learn how to manage their own mistakes, no amount of your money will fix it. What hurts most is realizing you could go broke trying to save them, and they'd still end up right back where they started. I've seen it happen far too often. Good-hearted seniors draining their savings, cutting into their retirement, even risking their own health just to keep a loved one afloat. But here's what I want you to remember. Nobody will take care of you the way you're taking care of them. If your money runs out, the same people you bailed out won't be there to pay your bills. That's why setting financial boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary. If someone in your life refuses to manage their finances, if they live beyond their means, rack up debts, or gamble with their future, it's not your job to fix that. You can still love them. You can still offer advice, but you do not owe them your hard-earned savings. You've worked too hard to secure your future. Don't let anyone guilt you into risking it. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is step back and let them face the consequences of their own choices. Because the truth is, the people who learn from their mistakes grow. The ones who don't never will. Now let's talk about a type of person who's much harder to spot, but just as draining: the perpetual victim. These are the people who carry a storm cloud with them wherever they go. No matter what happens, life is always unfair. Someone's always wronged them, and somehow it's never their fault. At first, your heart goes out to them. You want to help. You think maybe they just need a little encouragement, a little support to get back on their feet. But the longer you stick around, the more you realize they don't want help. They want an audience. They're not looking for solutions. What they really crave is someone to nod, to listen, to agree that the world is against them. And the moment you offer advice or suggest a way forward, they'll tell you why it won't work, why nothing ever does. It's exhausting, isn't it? Linda, a 71-year-old retired teacher, shared her story with me. She had an old friend named Karen, someone she'd known for decades. Karen was always in the middle of some crisis. One month, it was money. The next, it was her boss. Then it was her family, her health, the neighbors, you name it. And every time Linda would drop everything to listen, to help, to offer advice. She even lent Karen money more than once, hoping it might ease the burden. But no matter what she did, nothing changed. Because Karen didn't really want change. She wanted someone to confirm her belief that life was just too hard. Here's what most people miss. Being stuck in a victim mindset gives some people a strange sense of comfort. It becomes their identity. It gives them excuses, attention, and an easy way to avoid responsibility. And the more you feed into it, the more they lean on you, pulling you deeper into their cycle of negativity. Over time, you start to feel it, that weight on your shoulders, that sense that you're carrying someone else's problems, while your own needs keep getting pushed aside. The hard truth is, you cannot save someone who refuses to save themselves. No matter how much love, support, or money you give, it won't be enough. Because their real problem isn't external, it's their mindset. And if you're not careful, their negativity will start to affect you too. So, what can you do? You set the boundary. You stop trying to fix what they refuse to face. You remind yourself you're not responsible for carrying anyone else's burdens. It's not cruel. It's necessary for your peace, your health, and your happiness. The people who want to grow, who truly want change, they'll find a way. But the ones who choose to stay stuck, let them. Your job now is to protect your energy, because you've got your own life to live, and you deserve to live it free from constant guilt and emotional exhaustion. As we come to the end of this video, I'd like you to pause for a moment and really think about the 4 types of people we've talked about today. Maybe as you listened, certain faces came to mind. A family member who only calls when they need something, a friend who disappears the moment you ask for support, or someone who turns every conversation into a tale of how the world's been unfair to them. If any of this felt familiar, you're not alone. The truth is, many of us grew up believing that helping others is what good people do, that sacrificing our time, our energy, even our financial security is simply part of being a loving parent, grandparent, sibling, or friend. But as we get older, there's a quiet lesson life teaches us. Kindness is powerful, but it must be directed wisely, because the sad reality is, not everyone deserves your help. Some people will take and take until there's nothing left of you but exhaustion. Some will manipulate your emotions, guilt you into giving more, while offering nothing in return. And some, no matter how much you do, will never change. And here's the hardest part to accept. It's not your job to fix them. You've worked too hard and come too far to spend these precious years of your life drained, stressed, or financially strained because of people who refuse to grow up. Take responsibility or appreciate what you've done. You deserve peace, you deserve respect, and you deserve relationships that feel mutual, where love, care, and support flow both ways. So from this moment forward, give yourself permission to set boundaries. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of love for yourself and for the life you've built. Protect your savings. Guard your energy. And remember, it's okay to say, I'm not in a position to help right now. Or simply, no. You don't owe anyone an explanation, and you don't have to carry guilt for choosing your own well-being. Because here's the truth. The people who truly care about you, they'll understand. They'll respect you more for it. And those who don't, well, they were never really there for you. They were there for what they could get. Life after 60 should be about peace, not pressure. About enjoying what you've earned, not constantly fixing someone else's mistakes. You have wisdom, you have value, and you still have so much to offer, but only to those who see it, respect it, and appreciate it. So tell me, which of these four types have you faced in your life? Has there been a moment where you realized, enough is enough? I'd truly love to hear your story. Drop a comment below. Let's start a real conversation, because chances are someone else here is feeling the same way you do. And if today's video opened your eyes, or even just gave you that little nudge you needed, please hit the like button. Subscribe so you don't miss out on more content like this. And share this video with someone you care about. You never know who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for spending this time with me. Your presence here means more than you know. Take care of yourself, protect your peace, and remember, you're never too old to start choosing yourself. I'll see you in the next one.